In what has been a blink of an eye, the mediums of exchange we utilize to make or pay for private or commercial transactions have dramatically changed, at least for some of us. The use of coinage, of paper currency, of credit or debit cards, and so-called electronic wallets, all of which involve financial intermediaries, is being challenged by the introduction of cryptocurrencies. I am not alone in asking the question, are they the future or just another scheme to take without giving? For much of human history, people lived in small tribal societies, producing very little surplus as hunter-gatherers. What individuals produced became part of the group's common assets, shared more or less equally. However, there were members who developed specialized knowledge of natural occurrences, mysterious to almost everyone else. These knowledge bearers effected a redistribution of wealth to themselves in return for the wisdom they obtained out of their demonstrated ability to communicate with the gods. As the centuries came and went, as societies began to settle in one place, egalitarian tribal structures gave way to hierarchy, and with hierarchy came an increasing pattern of wealth redistribution from producers to a rentier, aristocracy, and its religious counterpart. The societal structure required that the output of producers exceed what was required for their own subsistence. This encouraged specialization, and with specialization of production came the need for systems of exchange and record keeping. Producers brought their goods to market, entered into contracts with one another, and reached agreement over what goods would serve as a medium of exchange. Fast forward to today, and what we have is a system of money and credit that in many ways would be familiar to the ancients. They eventually embraced precious metals as a universal medium of exchange. Governments minted coins out of these metals and declared them to be legal tender and an accepted form of payment of taxes, fines, and other fees. The Crusades reopened trade with societies of the Eastern Mediterranean. Shipbuilding blossomed, as did a new age of exploration, financed by medieval and then Renaissance banking families. The Dutch created the first deposit bank in 1609, minting coinage of a standard metallic content out of deposits of precious metals and other coinage then in circulation. Depositors received a receipt for their money that could then be used in payment of goods or services. This experiment in full reserve banking lasted only until the banking officers began to issue banknotes that exceeded the bank's actual capital, that is, the fees charged to depositors for the services the bank performed. So-called fractional reserve banking was then adopted as the new standard, with numerous periods during which governments halted the payment of gold necessary to repatriate currency other governments did not want to hold in reserve. For some time now, the only control over the expansion of the money supply by central banks has been the fear of skyrocketing inflation, and the only tool available to central banks is the raising of interest rates in an effort to reduce the reliance on credit. A delicate balance is required to tame inflation without causing recession and widespread unemployment. Since the appearance of the first Bitcoin cryptocurrencies, the threat to existing systems of money creation and credit allocation have taken center stage. We are trying to understand the long-term usefulness and impact of a medium of exchange that is neither tangible nor has the status of legal tender. The very fact that the investment community has a strong interest in cryptocurrencies tells me that the exchange value of these currencies is driven by speculation and therefore vulnerable to cycles of boom and bust. They appeal to our instinctive rent-seeking behaviors, that is, to take without giving. Our historical experience suggests to me that the introduction of cryptocurrencies adds yet another reason to be concerned about systemic failure. In his 2001 book, 200 Years of American Financial Panics, Thomas B. Vartanian, a law professor with decades of experience in financial sector supervision, leaves his readers with this. If one or more cryptocurrencies that are based on blockchain or similar peer-to-peer applications were to reach critical mass among consumers as an everyday medium of exchange, and there was an event that caused a collapse and loss of confidence in them, the resulting panic could be unprecedented. Indeed, there is no assurance that the security of these technologies will be able to withstand an attack using the next generation of computing power. And so, what then?